South African companies report significant increase in tax and market fraud, and a 7-point campaign of resistance against info bill launched. I'm Lebo Changela with this news update. South African companies have reported a significant increase in tax and market fraud. Global Economic Crime spokesperson Louis Strydom says the increase reflects a shift in the perpetrator profile towards senior management. He says this year 36% of internal economic crimes was carried out by senior management compared to only 70% in 2009. Strydom says the increase could suggest that organizations need to revisit fraud risk management frameworks to ensure that they are able to deal with emerging threats. COSATU, the South African National Editors Forum, and the Right to Know campaign have launched a 7-point campaign of resistance against the Protection of State Information Bill. The initiative aims to oppose the legislation by educating citizens about the bill and the areas where they consider it threatens democratic values. COSATU General Secretary Zwelinzima Mavavi says a march is being planned. He says whistleblowers need protection from prosecution.
Once you have this dark cloud lifted above the heads of the entire citizens to the point that nobody knows what information must be disclosed or not, when we know, in fact, that all government documents these days are just written secrets. And in future, when you see something written secret, you're just going to have to run away because you never know whether you will end up 15 years inside prison because you happen to have access to that information. And that's what it does. It creates uncertainty.
Two of South Africa's leading banks have been labelled as climate killers by civil society organisations at COP17 climate change talks in Durban. Nedbank and Standard Bank have been accused of contributing to global warming by lending money to power utility Eskom, one of South Africa's biggest greenhouse gas emitters. Environmental activists have named the top 20 global banks they say have been bankrolling coal-fired power plants. Bobby Peake of environmental group Groundwork.
Nedbank has often said quite clearly in the public that it's carbon neutral. But when you look at its portfolio, you can see it's far from carbon neutral in terms of what it's financing. The critical thing about Standard Bank, however, is that it also finances outside South Africa. And although it has not emerged in the top 20, Standard is the biggest climate killer among African banks in Africa. It's 60th on the list that FAS has produced, and Nedbank the 76th on the list with 119 million euro.
And international observer missions monitoring Democratic Republic of Congo elections say the 4 opposition candidates calling for the polls to be annulled are jumping the gun. Observer missions have given the elections the thumbs up. The elections were extended to 3 days following late delivery of voting material and were marred by violence. Senior Specials Reporter Mahlatsi Gellen's report from Kinshasa.
The African missions, including SADC and the African Union, say the polls were a success despite the technical and logistical challenges. SADC says there is no basis for opposition parties to call for the elections to be cancelled. The Qatar Foundation from America says it's so far so good and they will be watching closely the voting process. It says if that is transparent, the election could be credible. All missions have congratulated the Congolese for coming out in their numbers to vote. They say this is a sign that the nation is desperate to leave behind its violent past. Mahlatsi Gellen, SABC News, Kinshasa, DRC.